Oregon football with Mike Bellotti.
Diggs back to throw Clemens. Time pressure comes, throws it downfield. He's got him. Demetrius is there. Touchdown, Oregon.
Hey everyone, welcome to Oregon football with Mike Bellotti. Right then, the Oregon Ducks had the Trojans on the ropes, all the momentum, but USC, a great team. They came back and won it. And Joe Johnsani along with Coach Bellotti here on Oregon football with Mike Bellotti. And I guess after letting it sink in a little bit, Coach, your team had some opportunities, but they're also a very good team, a great team. Do you feel better or worse about it now that it's kind of sunk in for a day?
Probably neither. I'm not sure I feel any better or any worse. I think the evaluation that we played well for a half and held a great football team down. We really controlled the tempo offensively, took advantage of some turnovers and takeaways, and had some offensive rhythm. And our defense stopped, did not give them the big play, which was one of the keys for our game early. 2 costly penalties took away touchdowns. I don't think you can ever recover from a 14-point swing that way in a game. We lost some of our intensity in the second half. Fans quite weren't there. We didn't give them a lot to be excited about, and we got worn down. And that's a difficult thing against Reggie Bush, who I think is a Heisman Trophy winner, not a candidate, a winner in my opinion.
Maybe the best player that you've ever seen at Oregon. I mean, he was amazing.
Best player I've played against or coached against. He has some moves that are still, I'm still watching him going. When he made 2 of our guys miss with no shoe on, that was pretty impressive to me.
Even with the fact that they probably have every single offensive player that's going to be in the NFL someday, your team had chances. There were opportunities early, especially, to maybe really put them in a bigger hole than you did. And, that's you probably look back at that and say, boy, if we could have taken advantage of a few of these opportunities, it would have been there.
Well, we knew that we needed to convert every opportunity. We missed a field goal. We had 2 touchdowns called back, and those are difficult things because we knew it wasn't going to be 13 or 14 or 17-point game. We're going to have to score. At some point when they wore us down, it's sort of like the dam broke, and we needed the offense to step up. Kellen did not have a great game. I think he was dinged a little bit. He answered the questions well on the sideline, but did not play like we've seen him play. And again, give credit to USC. They did some things defensively. They're a good, talented team. Their ends played very, very well, took away some things from us, and we needed to take advantage of any opportunities that we got.
You talked about emotion a little bit at the start of the show, and a lot of the guys after the game was over, they said, we just were kind of flat in the second half. Do you think that they were so high in the first half that it was such a height that it was not attainable all the way through the entire game?
I think that's part of it. I think, again, you expend so much energy, not just playing the game, but the emotion of it and the crowd intensity. And, again, by halftime, our kids were, and we forced food on them. We told them you got to hydrate, get nutrition in your bodies. And, again, we could tell that they were starting to wind down already. I said, no, we got a half of football. We got the most important half of our lives. Get going here.
And the other thing is, not to belabor it, and we'll see it, but when you're needing a lot of excitement, when you're needing that emotion at a time that's very critical in the game, there were probably 15,000 empty seats to start a third quarter.
Absolutely. I can't figure it out, and unfortunately I see it because right across from me, right in the covered seats, there's about 10,000 people missing for the first half of the third quarter, and I'm sort of challenging you to show up. Don't just show up before the game, show up in the second half.
Well, the start of the third quarter is just as important as the first quarter, and that's when USC really gained the momentum. Maybe they would have scored, who knows, but they sure gained a lot of momentum. They got off easy on that first drive in the second half.
Yeah, we made it a little bit too easy on them. I mean, we needed to stop. Again, we didn't give up the big play, the explosion play. We talked about that. That was the goal of our defense, and I was proud of them in that regard. But it was sort of slow death there for a while, and that was hard to take. We weren't getting off of blocks. We didn't get a lot of pressure on Leinart in the second half, and again, I think we got tired up front.
Let's go ahead and get to the highlights. First quarter, Oregon and USC. And again, this is not taking anything away from USC because they're a great team, but clearly your team was ready to play. I mean, the crowd was ready, the day, everything. It felt like this could be one of those special days.
It did, and we started off very well, and again, got some breaks early. Again, Terrence getting the ball right here, and just a step, that little defensive end got him by the ankle and sort of tripped him up.
Incomplete to Williams right here. Had an opportunity, so he had to punt the football, and this is when the first break of the day comes in. Aaron Knowles, the punter, and kind of a roller, if you will, off his foot, and it hits the Trojan, and Oregon recovers. Now, originally they said this was USC football. They had to look at it. It looked pretty obvious in live action that went off his foot.
Yeah, it's hard. The snap was high. It was a great play by Aaron Knowles just to catch the snap. Then he punted sort of a low liner that bounces definitely off USC. So we all saw that. Not sure how the officials did, but we recover. I think it's Dante Rosario comes on top of the ball right there, and they had to go to replay, but it showed that it did in fact hit him.
So the Ducks with it in USC territory. Clemens to Finley for 11 yards, and then after an incompletion, it's 2nd and 10. Whitehead for 6 yards. Their holes sure close in a hurry.
They did. They're a good athletic football team with good team speed.
Clemens incomplete here on 3rd and 4, and then just gets rid of the ball, gets tipped at the line of scrimmage, so Martinez comes in from 37 yards out and puts Oregon on the board 3-0. And at this point, you know, you talk about laying it out there against USC. Right now, just get the points, right?
Absolutely. You know, we knew the field, but we want to get points every time we had the opportunity to get them down in their territory.
And you had 6 legitimate scoring opportunities in this football game, maybe a couple more if you look at it, but 6 real opportunities. And you know, they got touchdowns and Ducks weren't able to. I mean, it's a great team, but it's not like the opportunities weren't there.
No, we got to cash them in. And again, this is a tough deal. It's a 3rd and long, and they dump it to Reggie Bush, and he gets the first down yardage, which is very, very hard to swallow.
That was a 3rd and 15 play, and then Bush for a loss of 2 yards here. Trojans threatening on 2nd and goal from the 11-yard line.
3-man rush. They'll bring 3, thrown, and it is intercepted. Aaron Gibson at the 10. He's at the 20. Can he go at 30? Gibson out of bounds at the 37-yard line.
This is actually a blown coverage. Great hands and great response by Aaron Gibson. That's not his man. We're playing a zone there, our inside receiver, but it's off the back fingertips. He perfectly picks up the ball, takes off down the sideline. Big-time turnover, because that's a huge point swing.
Everybody's saying, why didn't Aaron keep going? Well, remember, he had to run 40 yards back and then 40 yards forward. So he had to do a lot of running and a great play, and it set up Oregon on a drive that led to a touchdown. No huddle working, Coach. You got a PI right here.
Yeah, they grabbed Tim Day from behind, saw that fairly easily. Gives us a first down.
So the no huddle continues. Clemens to Tim Day, another first down at the USC 36. The place is going nuts. The Ducks are in control, USC on their heels, and Clemens in the shotgun.
Clemens looking deep, has a man out there. Williams has it. Touchdown, Demetrius Williams.
Big-time play, the play before by Tim Day. I want to talk about that for just a second. Tim dragged that, got that first down, really got us energized. We take a shot right here. We get a little bit of pressure right in Kellen's face. He throws the ball up, perfectly thrown over the top. Demetrius beats his man. In fact, beats him so bad the corner falls down, and touchdown. And certainly we've got it rolling right now.
And there's so much confidence, too, Coach. Can you talk about what it was like on the sideline here as you're leading the USC 10-0?
Well, you know, we're feeling good. We're just doing what we needed to do. We needed to make sure we kept that thought going in terms of keeping our defense energized.
Leinert coming back, complete to Steve Smith for 11 yards, and then to McFoy for another 16. He had a lot of time, but this time it breaks down a little bit, a little pressure, but he's good on the run, isn't he?
Yeah, he's good and bought a lot of time, and it's hard to cover that long, and we should have sunk our corner when in zone coverage. Again, one of the things we talked about, Reggie Bush and Lendale were getting untouched into the 2nd level. Obviously, one reason because of some holding, but they get the call right there. Our defense does a nice job of stiffening up here.
3rd and 10 there, and on 4th and 10, USC decides to go for it, and Leinert kind of uncharacteristically had a man open, but he just decided to throw it away. And on 4th down, Oregon, with the momentum and everything going on, one of the biggest drives of the day, because it's already in doubt, and you got a chance to really stick it to him right here. And Clemens to Rosario for 11. And then Clemens for 9 on this play to the USC 49. And you know, USC, I don't know if they were tired, Coach, or they were out of sync, but you clearly were taking the game to them here.
Yeah, it's the no huddle. It's the whole thing about the no huddle deal. It just keeps people on their toes a little bit, and I felt like we had them at that point on their heels. Unfortunately, as the game unfolded more, they had us on our heels.
Incomplete to Colvin here, but a double dip. They're offsides, which is 5 yards, and they also get a dead ball late hit penalty here.
Well, they have a rule now to protect guys not involved. The ball's obviously uncatchable, and that is illegal this year.
All right, on 1st down, Clemens to Williams for 9 yards as he stretches it out. So threatening down near the 20-yard line, and then Clemens incomplete here to Cameron Colvin, just kind of fluttered away on that. 3rd and 1 here, Coach, and Whitehead stuffed at the line.
Yeah, and we blocked this incorrectly. Very poor job by our line. We had miscommunication there, and you can't have that on a huge play like this. You can tell we leave 2 linebackers and a defensive lineman unblocked at the point of attack. That's very frustrating.
So 4th and 1, and how close were you to deciding to go for it on this play instead of kick the field goal?
Well, after the fact we didn't make it, I was thinking a heck of a lot about it. But at the time, again, I wanted points every time down there, and the previous play influenced my decision more than anything else about not going for it. I didn't feel good about it because I didn't realize we didn't block it right. It looked like we got stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and those, obviously, the momentum and the confidence of a coach depends on some previous plays and how you think you match up.
All right, well, the Ducks moving the ball pretty well. They've got a lot of yards. The Trojans have had some trouble, kind of in a slumber. Oregon taking it to USC, and boy, they were on their heels early, weren't they? More opportunities for Oregon in the 2nd quarter as well before the tide turns. That and more when we return on Oregon Football with Mike Bellotti right after this.
This Oregon Sports Program is brought to you by Albertsons and Bi-Mart. This Oregon Sports Program is brought to you by RV Corral and Northwest Chevy Dealers.
Welcome back, everyone, here on this beautiful afternoon in the Willamette Valley. A beautiful day at Autzen Stadium as well as we go to the second quarter. Couldn't have been better. The crowd was into it early. It had that feel, and the Ducks were moving the ball. You're backed up here after a Trojan punt, and this was a big drive just from a field possession standpoint to get a first down.
Absolutely. Great job by Kellen on the scramble right there. Makes the guy miss in the open field. They do a good job of covering where play-action pass right there. Again, you see a huge opening. He sees it, feels it, takes off. Nice little move right here. Makes the guy miss, and then falls ahead for more yardage and protects his body.
Little Reggie Bush-like there. The guy didn't even touch him.
A little Reggie Bush,
maybe not.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a nice play. Clemens loses 4 yards back to the 11. A big 3rd and 8 coming up right here.
Ducks with the ball back at their 11-yard line. Clemens wait for that snap, ready for it, got it. Low snap, it steps up. Pressure comes, throws it over the middle. Caught, 20, first down. Out of bounds at the 20, 30-yard line. Down the sideline, and James Finley.
Nice job by Kellen Clemens. James Finley gets open. Kellen holds the ball. They got a late blitz coming right in his face, but does a great job of throwing across the middle. James shakes his man, and it's off to the races. Makes some good positive yards after the catch.
And such a big conversion to help set up the next drive with the exchange of punts. Clemens, after that play, incomplete to Dante Rosario. And again, there's enough time, although they brought a lot of pressure all day long, still enough time in this offense to get the ball out.
Absolutely. We're getting rid of the ball quickly, doing a nice job there. Unfortunately, ball knocked away. Good defensive play. Ball's thrown a little bit behind.
So Aaron Knowles, what about Aaron Knowles' performance? How do you feel about his debut?
I was pleased. I think he did a good job. I thought it could have been better, but again, I have high expectations. Our coverage team, I think, got tested. Certainly, anytime Reggie Bush has the football back there, that's difficult. But again, Aaron, I thought, kicked the ball very well.
Illegal block on the play. Takes it all the way back. The crowd making a lot of noise at the 8-yard line. He loses a yard. Reggie does to the 7-yard line. On 3rd and 6, USC out of sync here. And they're going to have to punt after Reggie Bush drops one.
Yeah, they had a little follow, which is scary if he gets the ball in the open field, but he doesn't quite handle it, and that's awesome.
Clemens now with the ball on the little end around, and this one squirts out. That ball was on the field forever.
Yeah, that's how successful a play would have been had we handled it correctly. There was nobody there. It's a shame.
Clemens then to Garen Strong for 11 yards. Ducks on the move with momentum at the USC 37-yard line.
Two receivers out there, 2 short, wide right. Clemens from the shotgun, back to throw, 3rd and 5 with time. Swings it down and caught, first down out of bounds at a 22-yard line, and into the TV truck goes Demetrius
Great job
Williams.
on the protection here, first of all. Good pocket for Kellen. Again, you can see him taking the snap here. Good job washing the rush out. Good lane to throw the ball. Nice move and break by Demetrius, and again, tap the feet inbounds.
So Clemens for 6 yards here on first down. You could see them looking around and wondering kind of what was going on, because they really hadn't done a whole lot to stop Oregon except for the first possession. And an absolutely critical play here on 2nd and 4 from the USC 16.
Flag is down, Whitehead, 5, and into the end zone, and the flag is down. They actually mark it at the 1, but there is a flag.
This is very difficult. They call a club on Palani Masoon here. He hit the guy in the back, and that's a standard technique on screenplay. You see again, his hand strikes the back of the player, does not strike the helmet, which was what was called. That's unfortunate. We also score on that play. I don't understand how they marked it the 1, but again, it's just difficult.
Hey, Coach, I know you're limited, so I'll say it. That was flat out one of the worst calls I've ever seen in college football. A personal foul on the line of scrimmage takes away a touchdown. That flag came out so quick that it was unbelievable. And he didn't even touch him in the helmet, much less club him in the helmet. And it costs Oregon a touchdown. You get 3 out of it, you're still up 13-0. But, that's a big swing right there.
That is. It's just it's the finish drive kind of thing that we talked about, and it's a shame we didn't get to do that. Nice play by Aaron Gibson right here. Great open field tackle. Unfortunately, you get a piling on penalty there that's 15 yards, and that's very, very difficult. Kwame Hodgman tried to make a play.
Reggie Bush out here on the toss for 5 yards. Boy, when he gets in space, he's so dangerous, but a nice play by Finnison.
Absolutely. Great tackle in the open field. He's a tough man to tackle there.
This is one of the biggest plays of the game coming up here. You wonder what would have happened if they wouldn't have gotten it. Down 13-0, faced with a 3rd and 20 at the Oregon 45, and David Kurtman gets 21 yards to the 34.
Yeah, poor job by us in coverage. We lost him in coverage, had everybody else covered, had the guy double covered. He makes a great play. We know he's a good athlete.
Then they start to power away. There's Bush for 11 yards, and then Lendale White, what a 1-2 punch. Both guys over 100 yards.
Yeah, and he ran through. Lendale White can run through arm tackles, and again, we're getting a little weary here to get undisciplined. We cannot jump off sides. It really was frustrating. We blow this coverage. In addition, we give him an easy touchdown.
And on 3rd and 7, Leinart to Bush for 19. 13-7 now, 10 plays, 70 yards, and boy, you could feel the game change with that entire sequence right there.
Yeah, I thought, I didn't really think that. I think the fans felt that. I didn't feel like. I was more frustrated by our inability to stop them at that point. That was our own fault. They do a nice job of mounting some pressure. They certainly got some momentum going at that point.
They get the ball back in good field position after the 3 and out, and Bush for 5 yards to the 50-yard line, and pretty important here for your defense to keep the touchdown out of there so you can go in with the lead at the halftime.
Absolutely, but again, we jump off. They get us to jump off sides, which is very frustrating. We need to be better than that. Watch this run. This is pretty amazing. Oh my gosh. 2 or 3. I mean,
Horror movie.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush is hopefully going to be in the NFL next year, and probably will win the Heisman Trophy this year. Lendale White is a different kind of back, gives him a great mix-up 1-2 punch. But then defense stiffens up here, Coach. I mean, they didn't get it in the end zone here.
We talked about that, and I thought this was tremendous for us to get some momentum back on defense, keep them out of the end zone, better pressure right there, force Leinart to slip and fall down in the pocket, and that's huge because, again, we were ahead 13. They could have scored a touchdown and made it their lead, but we stopping them in this regard and putting pressure on them, that changed the focus of the game, in my opinion.
So it sets up a 3rd and 13 for Leinart, who just looked a little slow and out of sorts early. Just didn't, we haven't really seen him in person, but a lot of balls kind of floated like that, and this one incomplete, so they have to bring the field goal kicker on, Mario Danella. Danello makes his first kick of the year, which barely gets over the bar from 37 yards out, and it's 13-10. And, Coach, in all honesty, and I'm not saying that this would have changed the final outcome of the game, but it could have been 24-3. It could have been 17-10. I mean, there were chances out there to have this be a bigger lead.
Yeah, no question. One thing, I thought their field goal kickers, the trajectory was so low, we should have blocked a couple of those. A couple go right by our hands, unfortunately. And again, the entire game, I felt that. You're right. We missed a couple opportunities. The touchdown was taken away. That's very frustrating. I thought our defense, though, really that last series stiffened up, and to hold them to a field goal when they moved the ball down, that was really key and really important. We still had the lead. I thought that gained back a measure of respect for us, and we talked about that going into the locker room.
When you went into the locker room, was there a sense of confidence? Like, hey, we're moving the ball. We're 150 yards of offense. I mean, was there a sense of optimism and confidence?
Yeah, it was. What I asked the kids when I walked in the locker rooms, did we play our best half of football? And we all said no. They said no. We knew we could actually play better. We had played well, but not only well because it was against the team. We hadn't played as well as we're capable of. We had the best yet to come, and we said we needed it. Don't worry about the score right now. This is a very good football team that will come back. We talked about punch and counter punch. We need to be ready to go.
Of course, USC with a lot of weapons, and they showed them in the second half. And coming up at the half, despite Saturday's loss to the Trojans, USC has been part of some of the great moments in Autzen history on the other end of it. We'll take you back to 1999, and a former Duck will always have that memory of beating USC with a single kick. That and more when we return on Oregon Football with Mike Bellotti right after this.
This Oregon sports program is brought to you by McDonald's and Oregon Community Credit Union.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Michael Burke. Now, most of them went home unhappy, but on Saturday, there were more of them than at any previous sporting event in the history of the state. Talking about the fans who arrived early, and the stadium had a fever pitch at the start of the game. 59,129 for a new Autzen Stadium record, breaking the total from the Michigan game by 106 people. Now, here's something you probably haven't heard. In counting the attendance, you have to count everyone who comes through the gate, including concession workers and media members. And for this game, the press box was filled to capacity with both national and Los Angeles media members filling those seats. Now, plenty of those 59,000 plus came in early to catch a peek of Tommy Skipper wearing an Oregon football uniform. Now, Tommy didn't punt, but did sport his number 48 uniform on the sidelines. If the former Pac-10 decathlete and pole vault champ ever plays in a game, his scholarship will have to go to football, same as it did with Jordan Kent. Skipper's foray on the football team has been called a work in progress, but Skipper is, of course, a world-class athlete, and the Ducks are certainly happy to have him on the roster. Now, Saturday's game was on TV regionally on ABC, and it appears likely that all of Oregon's remaining games will be televised live, one way or another, except for the Stanford game. Here's the way it works. First of all, OSN will televise any game we are allowed to by the Pac-10 and the networks that carry the games. In the Stanford case, because the network protects certain time slots, they will not allow a live telecast at 2 o'clock. We asked Stanford to move the game so we could televise it, and they declined. So the game won't be on live TV. After that, Oregon plays at ASU, and we should know Monday who plans to televise that one. And of course, as always, you can catch Saturday evening's replay along these stations on the Oregon Sports Network. Check your local listings for the time in your area. All right, yes, USC win was disappointing for Duck fans, but USC has been on the losing end of their fair share of games against Oregon, one of them coming in 1999 when Oregon was starting to become a Pac-10 power. Here's this week's Oregon football flashback with former Duck place kicker Josh Frankel.
Speed cuts it back in, still his feet inside of the 21-yard line. Harrington, who has it, touchdown!
USC was in town. It's a Pac-10 opener that year, and they were number 16 in the country. Come in, Nate Villegas was our starting kicker, All-American. He was a Groza candidate, and he goes in to tie the game. I believe there were about 30 seconds left, kicks a field goal, ties the game, celebrating, and unfortunately comes down and tears his ACL. I was the third-string walk-on kicker going into the game. Went into the third and final overtime. SC missed a field goal. Kicked a game winner in the third overtime from 27 yards out.
Snap back good, placement good, kick is up, it's good, he hit it, Oregon's won the ball game!
Right the second I kicked it, I knew it was good. Looked up, threw my arms up, and the next thing was just complete pandemonium in Autzen Stadium, and fans rushing the field. They lifted me up, felt like it was right out of Rudy, and it's definitely a memory I'll never let go of.
All right, USC not in the top 10 when the Ducks beat them that day, but still a great day in Autzen Stadium history, which brings us to last week's internet question, which is the greatest Oregon win over a top 10 team, beating number 6 UCLA in 2000. 10% of the vote, 25% went to number 9 Washington in 1994. Now, that brings us to this week's question with the USC game behind. How many more wins will Oregon have this year? Will they win all of them? 7 games, that would be a great season. 6 would likely put them in the Holiday Bowl. 5, likely Sun Bowl berth in El Paso. 4 or 3 or fewer. Go to chambersports.com to cast your vote. We'll have the results next week on Oregon Football with Mike Bellotti. All right, coming up, the Trojans take over. USC starts to show why they're favored to become the first team ever to win 3 straight national championships. That and more when Oregon Football with Mike Bellotti returns right after this.
This Oregon sports program is brought to you by Pacific Continental Bank and Steelhead Brewery.
Welcome back, everyone. Oregon and USC at Autzen Stadium. Let's go on and get to the third quarter. USC comes out of the third quarter, and Coach, you talked about that emotion and everything, and there's no reason to expect that the kids weren't going to be pumped up. I'm not sure what happened. A lot of the crowd gone, though. Something I just don't understand.
I don't either. Again, as I say, we got to have reasons for them to come to be here. We miss a tackle right here, which is tough when we let Reggie off the hook and let him go in the open field. Nice job by J.D. Nelson, who played a great football game again.
So they take it right down the field. Maybe they would have taken it right down the field. Who knows? But, you know, it's just made it a little easier on them as they converted easily here. The throw to the outside is complete to Bird for 18, and then Leinart to Dwayne Jarrett for the touchdown, and it's 17-13, just like that. They had the lead right here, Coach, and did you sense a little bit of deflation on the sideline or not?
No, again, I felt disappointed that we let them go down the field quite so easily, and we needed to respond. We talked about punch, counter-punch, response from our offense, and I'm not sure we got it. That was part of the problem. Kellen didn't quite see that guy, and unfortunately, I think he was thinking of scrambling. We get caught there in the sack.
So a quick 3 and out. USC gets the ball back, and Matt Leinart looking for Dwayne Jarrett, and you know, Jarrett's a great receiver, probably going to be in the NFL. Leinart may be the first pick if Bush isn't. You know, again, you're having to deal with so much talent that it's tough. We have to match up with guys like this, isn't it?
Well, I felt like in the second half we were on our heels a little bit, and there's a good example. I mean, Reggie Bush loses his shoe, and unfortunately we missed 2 open field tackles. And he's a very difficult back to bring down in the open field. And I think, again, our defense having to be on the field played with a lot of emotion in that first half, but that emotion sometimes can wear you out a little bit too.
Almost get to him right there, but not able to as they get it down to the 8, down close to the goal line on the Jarrett completion, and then Lindell White powers it over for the touchdown, 24-13. They're on a string here, Coach, where they pretty much score a touchdown every possession except the last one where they kill the clock, they score. And you know, this is what they've done in their previous games as well. Once they get you on your heels, it's tough to stop them.
Well, it is, and we didn't do a very good job. We weren't very good on first down offensively. This is a big third down conversion to Garen Strong, huge play there.
And even when you get the first down, Coach, which is the only first down of the third quarter, they punish defensively. Every play, no matter, even if you have a big play, they punish when they hit.
Yeah, they're good football players, great football team. As we said, you don't be national champions easily or you know, by accident. They work at it. A nice job brought in Dennis Dixon to change up the pace a little bit, took that one thing on the run, and then again, Kellen gets hit from the blind side, or we can't quite sustain. Don't get anybody downfield, have to punt.
Aaron Knowles with a good punt here. He sends it out, and Reggie Bush back. He had a big day. This is a good punt because it took a big roll, but what a great play by Reggie Bush. Again, it looks like there's nowhere for him to go, and somehow he makes it out of there.
Well, yeah, and again, we've got to squeeze. We have to be aggressive. We became too tentative. We talked about that. You can't be tentative. You can't play on your heels. You've got to be attacking aggressive.
USC starts moving the ball again. And, you know, I know I've talked to some fans who are disappointed because Oregon did have a lead. Don't forget, Oregon played USC much tougher than Oklahoma did in the national championship game. I mean, we could be talking about one of the greatest teams ever, and your team had a chance to be right in with them in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's hard. Again, no excuses. We needed to play better. I don't think we played up to our potential. I think part of that, again, is somewhat the hype of the game. Somewhat, too, I think, give credit to the line of scrimmage play for USC. They made some opportunities for their skilled people again, although that's Lendale White just jumping over, around, and through some people.
Lendale White takes it down inside the 10-yard line. They were 10 of 14 on third downs, including a couple on this drive, and just like that, now it's 31-13, 11 total yards in the third quarter for your offense. So the defense on the field the entire quarter didn't get any help from the offense by just moving the chains a little bit and giving them a break.
Absolutely, no question. Our offense failed to show up. We did not. Again, I keep coming back to first downs are very important in any offense. If you get first downs, you get positive yardage there. You make second and third downs, the conversion downs much easier. We did not do that. We really were atrocious. We had some penalties, some mistakes, just some breakdowns on first down, made the third downs harder. We converted one, as you said. Our defense had to stay on the field too much. They wore us down with their running game in that quarter, and really, unfortunately, set the stage for us in the fourth quarter to not show up.
Although you did have a little bit of a spark.
Well,
and
we did.
That came from Dennis Dixon and a touchdown that should have been. We'll show you that when we come back. Coming up, we're just going to get through this fourth quarter and then move on to the next one. The Trojans able to get in the end zone on every possession, except for that final clock killer. But the Ducks, you know, hey, they were right there if this one would have counted into the fourth quarter. We'll talk about that and more. And look ahead. But Oregon football with Mike Bellotti continues after this.
This Oregon Sports Program is brought to you by Oregon Electric Station and Doyle's Harley-Davidson. This Oregon Sports Program is brought to you by Ward Insurance and Eugene Home Sales Center.
Welcome back, everyone, as we get started fourth quarter. We're just going to get through this fourth quarter and then move on and start talking about Stanford and not let the Trojans beat the Ducks twice. And Oregon with a big one coming up down on the farm. But first, Dennis Dixon gave you a nice spark, Coach.
He did a nice job. We needed a spark. Kellen was inconsistent somewhat and a little bit beat up. Brought Dennis in. He did a great job. Nice job of throwing the ball, running the football, using his arms and legs.
Dennis is very fast. I don't know if people realize how fast he is. As fast as your receivers.
Absolutely. He's a great athlete.
So he's throwing the ball with efficiency here. Gets it out to Cameron Coleman and turns it back up for some yards. And then all the way down to the USC 20-yard line, you start moving it. Terrell Jackson, big run.
Yeah, Terrell, nice job picking his way through the hole. He and Dennis have a little relationship there. They practice together a lot. Dennis did a nice job here.
Dennis, this time, nobody there, so he tries to run out of it, and it's officially a sack, although he almost gets back to the line of scrimmage. Then a big third down play.
Pressure comes, he throws, and it is caught and out of bounds at the 5. Ooh, a late hit. And it'll be inside the 5.
Yeah, we brought Kellen back in. There's some plays that Dennis is not quite ready to run yet. Kellen does a great job of coming in, completing this pass. Perfect timing, perfect throw there. Demetrius steps out of bounds, and then late hit, obviously, goes half the distance to the goal or on the 2 or the 1, whatever it is.
So the ball goes inside the 5. You see it there marked between the 2 and the 3, and Clemens tries to get away on that option, but loses some yards. And then incomplete on this play to Finley. The pressure was coming. I think he just threw it away. And it sets up a 4th and goal, Coach, trying to make it a 10 or 11-point game in the fourth quarter against the national champs, and the play works.
Yeah, it works very, very well. And again, great job, the reverse. We ran it early. We knew it would work if we can get it off. unfortunately get the call against us.
Two things, Coach. This is a fact. The play was whistled dead as soon as Colvin crossed the goal line. You'll see on this replay here, you see Terrell Jackson right there. Colvin's clearly in the end zone before that block is made. Also, NCAA Rule 9.E.2 allows the tailback to make that block.
Well, again, yes, I'm not going to dispute it. It's unfortunate because it cost us a touchdown. It's a great time in the game where we needed a touchdown to get back into it.
So the TD came away, and you wonder why that's not a reviewable thing on the. And Dan Fouts even talked about this on the ABC telecast. Once the player crosses the goal line, the whistle blows. The play is dead. And I'm wondering why they can't review that play, or why they didn't review that play. I know you don't have the answer.
Well, penalties are not reviewable. There are no penalties that are reviewable. So that's the whole intent of it.
Well, shoot, it was a disappointing turn of events, certainly, and especially when you see USC come back down the field and then, get one that's pretty obvious to everybody that wasn't called. And again, nobody here is saying that that's why USC won the football game. They're a great team. Just would have made it a little more interesting.
No question. It would have given us a spark. I think it took the wind out of us when we got down there, didn't get anything. And this play is again, vintage Reggie Bush. Might have been a clip there. Again, hard to tell. It looked like he, based on the way he fell down, it fell on your hands and your front. Typically, you're hit from the back. But again, no comment on the officiating. We just need to play better, play with greater emotion right here, and protect our turf.
Well, clearly, right in the back of the helmet, the player goes down, but USC gets the touchdown. We'll get another look at it here. Great play by Reggie Bush, of course, to run around and get some space for himself. Here's A.J. Tuatele just taking it right in the back of the helmet. And USC goes in for the touchdown, 38-13. That was a first down play. Who knows? Maybe they would have scored anyway. I think that's when the fans got upset, though, because they saw it on the other end and not on that end.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's hard to fault the officiating. I don't think that was a difference in this game, but certainly those things can affect the game.
There's Dixon comes in and throws an interception here. Nice play by their DB.
Yeah, I don't think it was interception. I still don't think he drug his foot. I think his knee landed out of bounds before his foot, the back foot. But again, I was right there. I was surprised they even reviewed that one.
Yeah, it was originally called an incompletion out of bounds, but then they reviewed that and then gave him the interception. And then USC starts to pound it down. They still have their starters in with 4 minutes to go in the game. Lindale White, and they're going to get into the end zone no matter what to make it 45-13. This game was a lot closer than that, Coach. I realize they had a lot of yards, but it was a closer game than 45-13.
It was, and that's unfortunate. And again, I will say this. I was proud of our team the way we battled for the first half, but you can't, the game doesn't end at halftime. We know that. You got to play a 60-minute football game, and that's very frustrating. We got some young guys in the game, though. It made a difference, got some plays going, that type of thing. But again, we need to be ready now to recover from this loss. It's not the end of the season. It wouldn't have been had we won or lost, and it's very important that we move on from here.
Now, as disappointing as that loss was, that they know they lost to a great team. They also know there was a window there, and there's a lot to learn from this as they move on to a big game coming up at Stanford.
A lot of people thought that we was going to come into this game scared or, worried about SC and everything like that. But I told the guys last night, it's about us and the playmakers that we got in this room. But in the second half, towards the end of the second half, it was just that, we start like the air started going out of our balloon, and we could never get it back up.
We plan on dominating the rest of the season, no question. A lot of people looked at our defense, and I'm sure they're surprised. A lot of people talking about us today. We wouldn't be able to hang with these guys, but we show people we can. And we definitely get it together. We can put 4 quarters together, offense and defense, and we'll handle some teams coming up.
Well, the positive that you take away is that we can play with the best of the best for 30 minutes. But, the thing that we need to work on is definitely staying with them. I mean, we played 30 good minutes of football today, but that's not going to cut it in a 60-minute game.
I feel like just we could work more on conditioning. A lot of us were cramping up and, letting USC get to us and stuff. So I guess mentally and physically we've got to condition ourselves and be more disciplined.
I feel it really slipped away from them. I mean, second half, you see the first half we was in the game. Second half came and, we were still in the game, but it just felt like, I don't know. It just felt, it felt weird, you know what I mean? Us, going out there and going 3 and out, we're not used to that. And defense having to go right back on the field. So, that tired them out a little bit, whatever. But we had bounced back with a big win over Stanford.
Well, Coach, what did you say to the guys after the game was over?
I said that USC is a very good football team, if not a great football team, that we can take pride in the way we played the first half, and we can learn from what we didn't do in the second half. Well, we need to be in better condition. We need to make sure our offensive intensity doesn't wane, that the consistency there is, as James Finley said, he's not used to us going 3-0. I'm not used to us going 3-0. We don't want that. We need to get better on special teams. We need to learn how to compete even more, no matter what the score is. I was disappointed. They controlled the line of scrimmage the second half of the game, certainly, and we cannot have that. Our defensive line needs to step up. I challenge them because our pressure on the quarterback has not been as evident the past couple weeks as it needs to be. We need to make plays on offense. We need to block better at the line of scrimmage on offense. So it starts at the line of scrimmage, in my opinion. That's not pointing any fingers. We just need to get better that way. We also need to make sure that our attention is on Stanford. Stanford lost a very difficult loss for them a week ago. They didn't play this week. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for us. Certainly they are injured and hurt and wounded, their pride and everything else. We need to be ready for their best football game, so our kids need to step it up.
Oregon's last visit to the old Stanford Stadium. They're going to do a stadium renovation and expect about 15,000, 20,000 people there, and so the Ducks are going to have to make their own emotion in that game with a lot of Duck fans down there as well for that one. We'll turn our attention a little more closely to the Stanford Cardinal. And also the Pac-10, Cal with a win. Notre Dame beating Washington. And now Oregon State dropping one to Arizona State. That and more when we return on Oregon Football with Mike Bellotti.
This Oregon Sports program is brought to you by Kendall Auto Group and Michael's Leather and Oak. This Oregon Sports program is brought to you by Albertsons and Bi-Mart.
Welcome back to Oregon Football with Mike Bellotti. It was a light week of games in the Pac-10 Conference. Washington State, Stanford, UCLA, and Arizona were all idle. The week began, however, on Friday in Las Cruces, where 12th-ranked Cal looked to remain unbeaten with a win over New Mexico State. Jeff Tedford's team, early going, first quarter, leading by 3. Joseph Ayu drops back, airs it out. Deshaun Jackson's under it. 41-13, Cal improves to 4-0 this year. They also have that one Pac-10 victory over Washington under their belts. Speaking of Washington, Tyrone Willingham at home, facing his former employers at Notre Dame. And they got the best of the Huskies. 22-3 at the score in the fourth. Brady Quinn, Jeff Samardzija. Notre Dame improves to 3-1 this season. 36-17 the final score. Huskies 1-3. And at Reser Stadium, Arizona State and Oregon State. Sam Keller, huge night for the Sun Devils. Drops back, goes down for Derek Hagan. One of Hagan's 2 touchdown receptions. ASU wins big, 42-24 the final score. They get USC next. Joe Coach, back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Michael. And Arizona State looks very good. They're 2 weeks. Stanford is next. I mean, a conference game, chance to get to 4-1. It's a big one. Yeah, it is. And the conference is shaping up. I mean, SC, Cal, ASU, WSU, UCLA are right now in the driver's seat, so to speak. But I like where we're at. I don't like it right now, but 3-1 at this point and having come off playing the number 1 team in the nation, going to Stanford. Again, as I've said, we have to be prepared for their best football game. But I think we're relatively healthy. Some bumps and bruises. Nate Leah brought in the only guy that might miss it due to concussion. But we should get Jonathan Stewart back, which should help us. And I feel like we learned some things that can help make us better. Now, the Cardinal played UC Davis. Take a look at Stanford, and they have all their offensive players pretty much back from last year when you played down on the farm, Coach. But they've had to sit there with that UC Davis loss where their offense did not score a single point in that. Well, they scored a field goal, but they scored their 2 touchdowns on fumble recoveries. Defensively, they played very well against your team last year, but you weren't as open then as you are now offensively. You know, do you like the matchups that you see against Stanford? Well, I haven't had to watch enough film, but I know that they struggled against UC Davis, and I don't know why that was. I'm going to have to look at some film today and figure it out. I know this game last year was close. I don't think it was as close as the score indicated. They got a chance to maybe do something at the end that they shouldn't have, but overall, Stanford's a good football team. We played them last year. I think they were 4-2, and they're really feeling good about themselves. I don't know what they feel now, but I know they're going to be very motivated to win. Well, clearly, Oregon will not have to worry about the crowd next week, other than maybe their own fans, because there's a great chance that Oregon will have just as many fans at Stanford as the Cardinal will. And so we'll see how the Ducks handle that one. A big one next week on the farm at Stanford. As Michael told you, the game will not be on TV. The Pac-10 will not allow us to televise it. So we'll see if the Ducks can get the victory, and then we'll show it to you on the replay and recap it here on the show. When we return, one of the unsung heroes of this Oregon football team, just working hard every day despite not having it turn out the way he would have hoped. Chris Vincent, when we return on Oregon Football with Mike Bellotti.
This Oregon Sports program is brought to you by RV Corral and Northwest Chevy Dealers. This Oregon Sports program is brought to you by McDonald's and Oregon Community Credit Union.
Oregon's Chris Vincent has endured more change than probably any other Oregon player, from Philadelphia to prep school to LSU as a defensive player to Oregon as a running back, then back to the other side of the football as a defensive player again and member of the special teams. Through it all, he's kept his head about him and looks for every opportunity to make his Philly-based family proud. Here's Nicole Abeda.
Chris Vincent once spent his Saturdays being chased, but now he's the chaser. The switch from running back to linebacker came in the spring after a sit-down conversation with Coach Bellotti.
He approached me about it, but it was kind of, and he always keeps it in the players' hands because pretty much we're doing the work. And if our heart's not into it, he's not going to get what he wants out of us.
Vincent immediately rose to the challenge, like Duck fans have seen him do on the field. Vincent made the transition quickly and taking what he had learned as a ball carrier to the other side of the line.
It does help a lot because I get the feeling of what offenses are trying to do, the big picture.
And there has always been someone else there to help the 6'1", 230-pound junior see the big picture. A man he's looked up to since his days of playing football in urban Philadelphia. His cousin, Troy Vincent, a 14-year NFL veteran and 5-time Pro Bowler, currently playing safety for the Buffalo Bills.
He's been a great example of what a person should do with their life. Living his life through God and everything, and just opening my eyes to say, it is possible for me to make it to the next level or be successful on this level. You don't have to be perfect in every category, but as long as you work hard, you can get there.
And with that advice, Vincent is blossoming in his new role, utilizing his speed and strength, and it's not going unnoticed. Earlier this month, Chris was featured in an article for the Philadelphia Tribune, one of the nation's oldest and most prominent African-American newspapers.
I got a call from the reporter, and he said he wanted to interview me, and I was kind of surprised. Because, like I say, they're all the way on the East Coast, and I'm out here on the West Coast of Oregon. But, it shows that we do support our athletes in Philadelphia. And, I was honored to do the article with him.
And you can bet his cousin Troy was beaming with pride. And even though during the season the two don't get to talk as often as Chris would like, the values that Troy has instilled in his younger cousin will keep this member of the Vincent family following a similar path.
All you got to do is just keep trying, because if you don't try, you'll never know. So you just got to keep pushing and always remember that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Chris has endured a lot of change from LSU to Oregon, linebacker, running back, endured a lot.
He's getting better at linebacker and on special teams. He's an athletic individual who's going to play a lot for us.
Coach, thanks for coming in. Big one next week at Stanford. Of course, we'll be right here to recap it for you since you won't be able to watch it live. A big one against the Cardinal, and we'll have it for you here on the show. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time on Oregon Football with Mike Bellotti.